Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for May 27th, 2022. I am Benji Fisher moderating, and also here are Simo Helstein, who's sharing his screen and will start us off, Antonia and Ralph Kohler. Fershau was here at the beginning, says he'll be back soon. Simo, go ahead and remember to read the issue number for the sake of the recording.
So this is the issue 2466553. The issue is that untranslated menu items are displayed in menus. So this is how currently the language system works. So there are different kind of options how that menu items, translated menu items could show up. So it could be so that only single language is shown if there is menu items in that language, and then there is the thing that untranslated menu items show on each menu. And this for multilingual sites, usually the basic assumption should be that we don't want to display untranslated content. So this is something that came up for a colleague of mine on Tuesday, and this patch here, the latest patch, was something that worked for him to solve the issue. So I don't have this one actually installed in a like Drupal instance at the moment, but the thing is that I think we can look at the behavior here. So when you display menu items with menu block from the Drupal core, all menu items are displayed regardless of it being translated or not. So usually, like these mixed languages are like mixing languages is usually quite bad idea. So it's very confusing, and it shouldn't be like something that happens on a kind of a live site. It's like and so
Simo, I think Ralph has a question.
Yes,
yeah.
A quick question for understanding. Does that issue also apply to the admin menu, or is it more about front-facing menus for the front end, or does it also apply for admin menus? That is not really clear from the issue description.
Yeah, so this is, that's actually a good question, because for admin menus, we want to have all the menu items that are not translated, because usually when you have something new, you don't have it there always translated. So sometimes you need to have when you are working, you should have all the menu items, despite some of them not being translated. But so this is for like the front, like the content side menus. So there are proposed solutions to display menu items either without a specific language or in the current language. So that's like, and to make it possible to configure each menu item to display menu items either without a specific language or in the current language. And to make it possible to hide and display menu items on certain languages. And the other solution is to just to keep it as it is and let contributors to handle this. So there is this.
And I think the issue summary also lists a few contrib modules that can be used for this.
Yeah. So this has been marked like reviewed and tested by community 17 days ago, but it was the status was changed. So here it's a question about the difference between content language and interface language. Whether menus are interface or content.
So is there a usability question here, or is this an implementation issue?
It's a usability, I think. So I think usability would be what is the default behavior. So what is the most common thing here for creating content, or like what should the core? So if what should be the core implement, like a core Drupal core? What should it do by default?
I think it would be important to keep the current behavior as the default in order to not break any existing sites. It's not clear to me whether we want to implement this for the front end or for the user interface.
So I don't use multilingual sites very often, but I guess if I'm a site administrator, I might want admin links in my native language, and I might have to administer content that's written in second or third language. So is that what the difference between
That-
type
that's
content
actually-
and type interface gets at?
That's actually different. The other issue I linked is about that. So this one is about how it displays the content of the site. But there is actually the other issue. It might be a bit more clear. The other one is it's kind of from usability perspective. It's more clear. But so here the question is when user inputs, user creates content that is only in a specific language, does the user assume or expect that it will be when added to a menu, it will be displayed in the menu of different language?
Ralph, do you have another question?
No, just a comment in regards about the comment of anybody quite at the bottom, who was linking to the question of content and interface translations don't clearly separate, because I think it might be in general to hide everything that isn't translated yet. I think, in my humble opinion, it's a bad idea. But if you are able to distinguish between, for example, interface translation, for example, for the information architectural structure, like, for example, the block overview page, a link for that in the front end menu, if that isn't translated and would be hidden, that would be a bad idea, because that way all the other content would be unreachable directly via the menu. But for content itself, it isn't translated yet, then I don't see any problem, and I agree, hiding it and not showing it in that language, or showing it in, for example, if you have a Spanish site, a Spanish translated site, and you have the article, the initial article only in English, then hide that English article for the Spanish speaking folks. That is okay. But for those structural or interface translations, I don't think hiding automatically is a good idea. Or maybe I'm reading the issue wrong, still a bit.
And again, the issue here is about what the defaults should be, because the patch gives the site builder various options, and we just have to decide what the most common use case is. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that is. So this is something that is these patches are required to to kind of to do kind of normal sites in a way. Normal multilingual sites to work effectively require these patches from this this issue. So it's something that that's why I raised it up. So if this is something that could be included in core, so that it would kind of so that we would have the best possible defaults.
Okay, so I will propose two answers. So one is what Antonia said earlier, that we have to avoid making changes to live sites. So that answer is that the default behavior should be whatever the current behavior is. That's one answer. My second answer, and I don't know whether these conflict or agree, but my second answer from the usability perspective is that if you see something there and don't want it, then at least you know it's there and you go about trying to figure out how to get it not to appear. But if you don't see something, you might not know it's missing. And so I think from the usability perspective, the default should be to show as much as possible, right? Include all the untranslated things. And then people will see that there's a problem and go about trying to fix it. So those are my two suggestions.
Yeah.
I might add one detail. It would be also helpful if the issue summary would be updated with, for example, a screenshot or where and how that configuration is made, so that the people reviewing it get also an idea aside applying the patch.
Yeah, it's good. So what we are thinking, like it seems to me that the idea is to, like, from those proposed resolutions to the third bullet point, make it possible to hide / display menu items on certain languages, either that one or making it possible to configure each menu to display menu items either without a specific language or in the current language. So maybe so those are the kind of the things that would be considered best usability.
So following up on what Ralph said, I just posted into the chat. I've saved a little text snippet of a sort of standard comment asking people to put more information in the issue summary to make it easier for us to review. So feel free to borrow that and paste it into a comment on this issue, or I might do that myself.
Yep. Yeah.
So is there anything else to be said on this issue, or do we have enough to take some next steps? I could paste in my standard comment. I could repeat what I said about the usability argument and the backwards compatibility argument. Is there anything else that should be added? Have we made any progress here?
Yeah, I think yeah, for me it makes it more clear, this one. So yeah, so being more like instead of changing default behavior, like adding configurability. Yeah.
Oh, and when was first tagged for usability review? Was there any specific question asked at that point?
No, it was actually I like there was something like actually I did that myself when I was checking this, so I should have like spent more time cleaning it up, so putting it more together. Yeah, so I was kind of a bit hasty bringing this up, so I should have looked at it in more detail and making it clearer before bringing it up here.
Okay. Well, would you like me to post a comment, or will you?
Well, I can continue with this one. And there is another patch there already. I like a day ago. But yeah, so I think I can continue with this one also.
Okay.
Yeah. But
So
this, yeah, so thanks for this. So I can use this discussion to continue in that issue.
I'm sorry, what's that other issue? Is it linked to this one?
So this one is actually more clear in a way, because it is something that you, Benji, brought up as like during the discussion of that other one. So this one is about the the admin interface, being able to use the admin interface in selected language while editing content of another language.
Okay, for the sake of the recording, can you read the issue number?
Yeah, so the issue is number 3101747. When content language detection is enabled, menus are forced to follow content when site interface is the preferred choice sometimes. So this is in need of review. The patch, but for me, this is something that it really comes up quite often, that this is something that should be like a kind of something that how it should work, so that when you browse through content that is in different languages, the interface doesn't change. If you have selected certain language as your user interface, then it shouldn't be changed.
So let's see, the steps to reproduce. You add a language. The language section, we choose URL. That's, I think, the standard approach. Customize language detection to differ from interface text language. For content language detection, select your second language. And both languages, all menu blocks will be in the second language. So do you have a site running where you could walk us through those steps?
Yeah, I can actually don't have at the moment. I was supposed to have, but I had to purge my Docker images. So it's kind of a bad, for me, it was kind of bad time management, not being able to get this ready.
Right. Well, why don't you let me screen share? Maybe I can do this. I have a local copy of Drupal with the Umami demo profile installed. Maybe we can
Okay.
walk through the steps.
Yeah, so I'll stop sharing.
So let's see. Here I have, that's not it, this one. This is the issue we were just looking at. So add a language. Umami already has English and Spanish. So configuration, regional and language, languages, Spanish.
Detection and selection.
Say again?
Detection and selection. The tab next.
Detection and selection. So URL, yeah, that is the default. Customize language detection to differ from interface text language settings. That's this one, yes. And then content language detection, selected language.
At the bottom, in the configure button, on the right, left, on the right, sorry, yeah. And then Spanish.
Save configuration. Okay. Well, that's odd. Maybe I have to click that and then save settings. And then configure. Okay, that setting is saved. That is a little bit awkward, but not a serious problem. I wonder, am I supposed to deselect interface or not? So then the claim now is that in both languages, all menu blocks will be in the other language. So let's see. Are there any menu blocks in others? Let me just go to a terminal window that you can't see. Clear caches. I don't know whether this is a menu block or not. I assume this is a menu block. No, it's a view. So let me see if I can quickly add a menu block. I'll add something to the header. User account menu. All right. I guess that's the only menu I have available in Umami. So the menu block gives me these options. So now let's go back to the front end of the site. So I'm not seeing it. Is there some other way I should have configured this?
Are those user account menus, is it translated? The menu items there.
Good question. Let's see.
You could switch to Espanol.
Okay, I'll do that. I didn't want the textual link. Yes.
Yeah.
So it is translated. I'm not seeing. And an odd thing is that every time I come back here, I choose content here rather than interface text, but it doesn't seem to work because I choose content and I save the block. And if I come back to configure it again, it still says interface text.
What happens if you choose both the checkboxes, English and Spanish? Would it stick then?
Like so?
Yeah.
So let's see. Configure. Okay.
Yeah.
So can we reload this page? No, I'm still seeing in English here. So I think we need some more specific instructions for reproducing this bug before we can.
Yeah. I'll try and talk with my colleague. He wasn't working today, so I'll try and see what the actual our site we are maintaining is. So there is where the actual issue with this one is. But it's also another thing with these languages is that sometimes they behave differently for anonymous user and logged in users. So for logged in users, there are some things that take over when there is a user account.
That's a good point. Let me just go ahead and log out. And the user account menu says login here. It says iniciar sesión, if you'll forgive my pronunciation. So.
Okay, so it's also not impossible that this is something that might be related to certain themes. If there are some templates.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we simply need more information on that issue before.
Yeah, I'll try and get something like I was kind of hoping to be well prepared for this one, but kind of I had to do some core updates today, so that kind of stole the time.
I was working on the core updates on Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat, but I don't see any new messages in there. So.
Yeah.
Is there anything else, or shall we end the meeting early today?
One brief comment in regards of this issue for the issue summary in regards of CMOS suspicion that it might be also dependent on the template. It should be also in the how to reproduce part added which theme is used. So it could be reliably reproduced, because for example, as you, Benji, right now used Umami, it was impossible to reproduce it in that way like Xenu did. So might be useful to make that addition. And on another note, the selection and detection while watching along, the whole process is a bit cumbersome and confusing. I suppose it could be also improved, but it's definitely not in the scope of this issue. But in general, I think that is something that might be revisited.
Mm. Yeah, I think setting up multilingual, and it's something that if you're a new site administrator, then it's going to be something like a very difficult to understand how it there is a very steep, what's the word, steep learning curve on setting up language negotiation.
I wonder, does the user guide have information on multilingual setups? So this is not everyone knows about the user guide. It's www.drupal.org/docs/user_guide, then /en/index.html. And this is a curated guide as opposed to the documentation that I usually look at, which is all stuff that can be edited by anyone. And just going through the table of contents, understanding Drupal, chapter 2, planning your site, 3 is installation, 4 basic site configuration, 5 basic page management, 6 is content structure, 7 user guide, 8 blocks. Here we go, chapter 10, making your site multilingual. Adding a language, I think that part is not too confusing, but configuring content translation has some steps, it has some screenshots. So I haven't read this, but you know, some care has been put into this. And it, oh, there's also some video documentation for people who prefer video documentation. So maybe that explains it a greater.
Yeah, but this one actually seems to be about content, like a content translation, and we also have the issue of interface translation. So it's kind of translating content is different from user interface language. So that's.
Oh, you're right. This is specifically admin config regional content language. So maybe this is something where we could suggest adding another page to this documentation guide.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Anything else we should talk about? Okay, well, Simo, thanks for bringing those up. I think someone has to do some work on clarifying the issues, expand. For the first one, the issue summary needs an update saying what the current status is, what questions still have to be answered. And both of them could use some screenshots. The second one we looked at really needs more complete steps to reproduce, because we're just not seeing the same thing that's being described there.
So I can do those when my colleague is back at work, because he kind of brought this up in our daily meeting.
Okay.
Because that was something that he was actually working on, so that had those issues like on a production site, and that's something that he thought that these are both are working solutions, both patches for the issues he had. But actually, why he brought it up was that because those two patches don't work together, so he needs to try to make it kind of a merge, like he has problems merging those, so that to have both of them working at the same time. And that's why I thought that this is something that we could look at if we can like find something that would like find a solution to make those. But I'll try to get more detail in this one.
I just remember going back to the first issue. One of the options is to let contrib modules and it does list these 4 modules. So let's just have a quick look at them. I'm just curious, are these stable? Are they Drupal 9 compatible? So there's content language access, which has a stable release for Drupal 8 and 9. It's used by over 1,000 sites, so that looks like a reasonable module. There's a menu manipulator, which has a very recent release. Oh my, just last week. So presumably that's compatible with Drupal 9 and has a few more users, 1,500 something. There is Menu Multilingual, which has an alpha release from almost 2 years ago, but is already used by even more sites. And finally, there's Menu Block Current Language. Oh, and Laurie is one of the maintainers.
Also.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I noticed there is some people I work with.
Oh, okay.
There.
So it has a full release, but I guess doesn't have security coverage, and says it's minimally maintained. So whatever it does, but don't expect any improvements. Okay, but those, without going into detail, without reading them carefully, there are options. You don't need to apply patches. You can install one of these modules, 2 of which have fully supported releases. If they do what you want, then you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for coming, and well, we'll do it again next week, and I probably won't have a conference going on around me as I do this week.
Enjoy the rest of the conference and have a nice weekend, everyone.
Thank you, Ralph.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah.